possible, not just relying on
before you do it.
Yep, not just relying on the public notice.
Not that it really helps. We don't seem to ever have a choice about it. We're the ones who actually live there.
And we agree with you that this can continue to happen, and we're doing everything within our power. There's limitations to what we can physically do, but we have to have faith and trust in not just our state, but all state governments and authorities, as well as the federal government, that the employees, the communities, and the farmers can't keep having to respond in this method, and we really hope that they get together and allows changes to happen.
So,
I can't believe the states can't find some other spot for it. You know, come on.
No, it's because they own it and it's easy and the right
Yes,
spot.
exactly. We are tired of it. We're sick of it.
Yeah,
And
exactly why it's there.
I don't know about you guys, but I can't take it anymore. I mean, I'm thinking of getting out of this whole area.
just fundamental, thank you for your comment. And just realize as devastating as it is to you, that's what devastating is to us.
Why should our devastation be part of yours? Why should our problem be part of yours?
Let's be respectful.
I've heard all that. I understand where you're coming from. But you're not living there. Trust me. You guys, and that's another thing, that air quality thing. I got a thing about that once. Nothing ever happened.
All right,
And let me finish this one thing. The air quality thing. Yeah, it's horrible. I'm up there on my roof working on my gutters, and I gotta puke. We had to put Vaseline or Vicks or whatever in our noses and everything else. And then you come to go, we'll come and test it. Well, by the time you come there, the wind shifted. You know what I mean? Come on. All I'm saying, this is just a waste of time in this whole meeting. You're gonna do it in?
I'm Jane Koff Mortensen, and I'd like to shift gears on this. Since I'm at WW 1154 South Shore Drive. I was on Blue Spring Lake. And I have a farm on ZZ, and I have a husband and a nephew that are suppliers to Daybreak Foods. They don't want to do this any more than you guys want it done. So since we have the opportunity to have the state vet, we've got other vets and USDA on this call. When are you guys going to do something to protect not just daybreak birds, all the birds in the nation? Because this is a nationwide problem. It's not just happening in Wisconsin. There's 63 million birds
have been euthanized in the last 3 years around the country, from California to Maine, from North Dakota to Florida.
So with this opportunity of these people on the phone with us, let's get an answer to that.
I can start with Starlene Conkle, the state veterinarian, and pass it along to the other veterinarians who are online. But we have been working with USDA. Obviously, this outbreak has been going on now for 4 years, and you're correct, it has affected millions of birds. And
Indiana, Pennsylvania, Michigan,
Colorado. This infection started in 2015 was the first Asian outbreak in the U.S. This particular strain just started growing virulent in the U.S. in 2022. So avian influenza has been going on for 11 years now.
So USDA and veterinarians, when are you guys going to do something to stop it? That's what I want to know.
If I was at a producer roundtable. There were the 9 licensed producers in the United States who were at a roundtable with Secretary Rob. I can't get any higher than that. She's the head of USDA. She's asking us what can I do? We said we need therapeutics. We need vaccine. Who in here? I mean, I apologize. I got to stand up so you can see in the background. But we're all old enough to remember the pandemic, COVID-19. Who remembers that? What did we do?
Get vaccinated.
We sheltered in place. We stayed away. I apologize. Your name, sir? Josh? How would you like it if you were the only one in this room not positive for COVID-19 and everybody else was? What do you think you're gonna? You think you're gonna be able to stay safe and not catch it? We are asking Secretary Robbins for help. We need the USDA to help us. We're at the top of the food chain with her. We're asking for vaccine. We're having a study done on a vaccination program. It's in front of USDA today. We need vaccines and we need therapeutics. We're using every tool in the toolbox today to try to keep our birds safe. So we don't have to take them to you, or in your neighborhood, or your neighborhood. We don't want to. But our hands are tied. We're doing everything we can. Our poor staff, we spend millions of dollars at just one location on biosecurity every year, trying to keep our birds safe. I don't want to do this. I want to sell eggs. I want you I'm proud that our family supplies the bulk of the eggs you probably eat every day in Wisconsin.
Most people around here raise their own.
No, and I commend Daybreak and other industry people for doing just that. Secretary, I was glad you jumped in there. Those are all really relevant comments, and that is what's going on. First off, just on another level, mentioned 2015 and the fact that this particular virus, which is a little different than the one in 2015, we've been working with for a couple of years now, since 2022. USDA and states looked back at 2015, tried to shore up where improvements could be made. There are a lot of resources, and I'm kind of speaking for USDA here, but it's resources they're providing to block owners for biosecurity and for assessments and things like that. But as far as keeping it out, I agree. We veterinarians do not want to be depopulating millions of birds if we could prevent it in the first place. So the vaccination discussions are really valid. State animal health officials are having those discussions too and trying to move that along.
TB and cattle back in the day, they took care of that. Horses with other stuff. What is the problem with poultry? Why is this such a problem?
It's an international problem,
Yes.
first of all, because it's,
Well, can we have the veterinarians address their questions?
There are,
it's an export issue. You have basically 30% of the broiler production that's produced in the United States is export. Once we put a vaccine program in place today, we're concerned that our export partners are going to stop importing our product. That's one of the big hurdles we're trying to overcome, and that's why the trial we're working on, and apologize, it's politics. We have to work with a trading partner, and that's what we're trying to do.
and industry input will be really important with that, and USDA's trade staff that works with foreign countries to accept USDA or USA products. They're about to, and learning from other countries that are vaccinated right now.
Let me just touch briefly, somebody brought up, I'm not sure who back there, or somebody brought up Home Belt. Okay? This board is very, very cognizant of that issue. I have spoken with our state senator, Chris Benga's office. Through them, I've also been in contact with our state rep, Cindy Duco's office. Unfortunately, they didn't choose to send anybody here tonight to answer questions. I would recommend that anybody who wants to reaches out to their office and voice your opinions as well. Okay? Because you can chuckle at that, that's fine, but that's what our democracy is based on. I'm not trying to get into some political speech here, but if nobody calls them, my call to them falls on deaf ears. The more people in this community that reaches out to them, the better the more serious they'll take this.
I've had several conversations. She is working a process at state level, albeit really one.
I can also echo that too from a local perspective. So recently, and unfortunately I am ironically, our letter that was drafted and finalized on behalf of the Board of Health went out the morning before the press release went out. In our letter to all the state legislators, we talked about the need for looking into vaccination, we look for use of updating conflicts and regulations and rules, and that gained a lot of traction because hours later there was the announcement of the outbreak. So I can echo the fact that a lot of the state representatives and a lot of folks that are in the positions to make policy changes are recognizing that something needs to be done, and they're having this conversation. That wasn't happening in the last several outbreaks. So it's a good right now we have their ear where I don't feel like we had it in the past.
You know, years ago, one last thing.
Well, hang on, we've got other people with their hands up, we've had a chance already, no disrespect, what we said at the beginning, we're gonna go around, if we have time, we'll come back. Who else had their hand up? Please.
And Cedric, no 2485 Zion Road. What are we gonna do about the safety of our road? We need to decrease the speed. My window, I work at home all day and I can watch these trucks. The other day, there was almost 4 accidents of just the trucks going towards each other. What can we do to reduce the speed? We all have kids where you're going. So what can we do?
Outside of this conversation tonight, I shouldn't say we, Chairman Martins last week signed an emergency proclamation to close Zion Road. I know there's arguments, is it closed, is it not? The first step to do that is to say that it's closed. The second step to do that is to sign that it's closed. And the third step would be the gentleman in the brown shirts in the room to enforce that it's closed.
So how are we gonna enforce it?
Additionally, we had, I think it was over the weekend, Elizabeth had reached out to me that DATCAP had concerns about traffic on Zion Road. On our agenda tonight is to potentially endorse a resolution that would actually ratify that proclamation. At this point in time, I'm gonna request that we make an amendment. We'll see if the other half of the board agrees with me or not, to reduce that speed limit to 25 miles an hour while it's closed. So it would be closed, anybody who's through traffic could be ticketed. Anybody who lives on that road that's doing more than 25 could be ticketed also. Anybody who's driving a truck in or out of that road could also be ticketed. On top of all the other pieces. So we're trying to be sponges with all of this information. Different name and places in face as far as who was the point person. We don't have that person here with us tonight. So I'm trying to get up to speed on that. At the same point, we're trying to facilitate emergency repairs at Zion Road, because if you noticed, I'm sure you did, there's now 3 spots on Zion Road that were emergency patched.
They're cleaned up.
Right, so, let's be honest, there is no town road in probably any of the 72 counties that was built to withstand this on a basis of springtime weight restrictions. So Zion was applied for a grant. For anybody who was here back in November, and we had a budget presentation asking for additional funding to maintain our roads. This is a prime example of where that money goes, right? We rebuilt Tamarack Road 4,000 feet out of the village. 4 years before that, they rebuilt Little Prairie Road. It's the first time those roads have actually been constructed versus paved. So when we're asking for funding from you folks, again, in probably 6 months, this is the kind of thing
But you're asking for the wrong people, you should ask for the people behind you.
Now, hang on a second. Zion Road is one road. We've got 27 miles of
Well,
road.
we're talking about Zion Road right now, not
I
the other
understand,
roads.
I understand that, Dave. Okay, if you let me finish?
Absolutely.
Cool. So, Zion Road was applied for a grant a year ago, okay? Because we knew, first of all, if you look at what was out there from wedge patching from 6 years ago, that road was falling apart 6 years before this ever happened. There's no BS around that road needed work. These 2 events have not helped, but they are indeed scaling in and out, 48,000 pounds or less. That is a Class B weighted highway. All of the roads in the town of Palmyra are Class B. They have went from semi-traffic to quad traffic as part of last week's conversations to lower the weight, to make sure that they're abiding by what we're asking from a local government standpoint. The fact that that road fell apart, yeah, is it related? 100% yes. Is it direct fault of what they're doing? No, because there's 6 inches of clay that is the subbase of 3 inches of pavement. 48,000 pounds ain't riding on that regardless.
Probably your call, but what's worse, twice as many dump trucks or half as many big ones? What's worse?
Well, the additional thing too is what's the speed that
Because
they're going, because every time that the axle slap on the road, it's gonna
I
break
mean,
up
I see
something
it, I
else.
live right next to it.
Yeah, I know you do, I'm not arguing
It's
with you.
just, that's why I'm saying what I'm saying, it's great, it's
Frost comes out.
it's junk.
I would
Absolute
agree
junk.
with you guys, I would agree with both your guys' sentiments. We appreciate that road getting slowed down, we're gonna be working with our trucks as well, to make sure that's followed, and if there's any potential to put, speed bumps on that road while it's closed, we'll fully support the
Speed
town.
bumps, how about
Well,
farm
support
equipment when they
speed
need to
bumps
go
too.
do their things?
I'm trying to come up with solutions.
But you're
here
not
to
thinking
your
right
problems
yet, you
you're
gotta
bringing
think about
up.
it before you say
I'm
it.
gonna make sure that the truck traffic can slow down, if there's anything that we
Right,
can
you
do
could just go
differently to
slow
make
too,
sure
not
that
just
is followed,
speed bumps.
we will support that. We're still in conversations, regarding like you said, is it better to bring more semis or more quad axle dump trucks at low loads, or slightly increase that weight per truck? Still not go to full semis, but
Figure out
we
what
slightly
works.
increase it, we get less traffic on their as a totality. We're working on that, and that's something that the town board and I have been in communication about.
I got two more. So, we know the symptoms that we need to look for. So,
I'm sorry, what was the question?
the symptoms in humans, because it is incurable even though it's low, but what are the symptoms we all have children? So it's avian influenza, so we're taking the influenza parts. You're gonna look for any type of respiratory symptoms, so difficulty breathing, running nose, sore throat, coughing, fever is going to be a big one. We also have noticed a lot of individuals who have come into contact and been exposed, they're having conjunctivitis. So that is going to be a big one. There is sometimes conjunctivitis without the accompanying respiratory symptoms. So anytime those types of things are being seen, it's going to be important for you to go and get tested. The health department is testing the employees and the contacted entities. The only thing that we do ask is if you are going to your provider to go and get evaluated for those symptoms, to make sure you're letting them know that there's a possibility that you have been exposed to contaminated materials or infectious birds, because they're going to isolate you in a different way and they're going to triage you over. So what has been communicated to our local systems? There's what, 5 in the area? The minute that I was notified of there being an avian influenza outbreak before the first testing is a non-negative and then it goes to confirmatory testing. So before all of that information was even got out to everybody else, all of our health systems have been notified, including our community clinic. Other jurisdictions outside of this, because I recognize that folks may go to healthcare providers in Walworth County or Dodge County or Waukesha County. All of those county systems have also been notified. We have a very great relationship with all of the infection preventionists for all of those healthcare systems, and they have also been notified at the same time as all of the other health officers in the jurisdiction. Thank you.
You're welcome. Please.
Allie Braun, North 2465 Zion Road. Barrett, you had mentioned last time that this happened that you guys specifically didn't buy that piece of land for composting. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
So this is the third time that this happened. We moved here in August of 2025, so this is our second time within like the last 6-month period. And we're getting a total now of 7 million birds. Right?
4.2 is.
Between both
Yep.
times. Okay. Now, if you guys didn't specifically buy this land for composting, then why is it being used as that? And if so, if you didn't buy that land for composting, why don't you sell it? And then what would you guys do with birds?
So we did buy that specifically for composting. That was bought because it was part of the nutrient management plan of that facility for wastewater application, as well as a lot of other land throughout the area, not just owned by Daybreak, but also farm partnerships. Again, that's the only property we're able to locate that meets the DNR requirements for composting. That's the reason it's going there again.
Okay. So do you guys want to sell it so that way you don't have to keep dealing with it, so that it's up to DNR and wherever else to find a place to put birds?
Why would you sell it when
Unfortunately,
it's
we
a good
sell
spot
that,
to put
they're
it?
still gonna make us do this, and they're gonna.
Not by us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my point being is I didn't move here to be next to a composting site for millions of chickens every year. In the last 6 months, I have, a 2-year-old son and a 5-month-old baby that I can't even enjoy being outdoors with. Live in peace and quiet, my property's being destroyed. The smell of the chickens, I know you said you would try your best and there's only so much that you can do. But the fact that it's coming into my house and that I can smell it and my children have to breathe it, I bought an air purifier, it's unreasonable. I mean, we waste management people, you know, could you think of the well-being of the people living around here?
Comes through the ventilation.
I can talk about citing a little bit. So our natural resource code has requirements for composting facilities. It's for all types of composting facilities, being animal carcass ones specifically. And there are locational criteria for setbacks from things such as depth of groundwater, property lines, wells, navigable waters of the state, and all those things are looked at. So the farm proposes a facility to us, and we review that facility to make sure it meets all of those locational criteria. We actually go a little bit further than that as well. We look at like things such as slope, potential runoff. Our stormwater program issues a stormwater permit for any facility larger than 1 acre, and they have DMPs that are installed on the facility, such as this one where it typically slopes to the east. There is a retention berm all around it, so if we do get large amounts of rain, nothing will leave that facility. Also, when we're constructing windrows on site, we look at slope so the water can flow in between them, not saturate them, and ultimately slow down the composting. So all that's taken into consideration when you're looking at a site.
As well as on the 18 to 24 inch carbon bed to make sure that any material within that row hasn't absorbed before have contact with soil to make sure it doesn't get in contact with direct soil.
Just a slight add-on for me, I can't speak to any of the subject matter expertise here on the siting or the compost itself, but it's been mentioned a couple times tonight, different methods can we look at research and at how to get the basic job done, which is to eliminate fires from these carcasses and get them to decompose rapidly or get them disposed of rapidly. And as DNR has mentioned in the farm as well in Wisconsin, the groundwater here pretty much anywhere in the state for DNR, but burial at any kind of scale just isn't an option. Incineration, I think, has been mentioned. We did ask USDA about that. It's not listed in the Red Book as a method commonly used for poultry, and USDA has not used it on poultry since 2015. Again, I'm out of my lane with talking about incineration and air quality and what kind of permitting you need for that. But even what we learned with the throughput, it would take weeks upon weeks to incinerate that number of birds.
We've
got
months.
And
Once we got
if
a
we
year.
can find ways in
Our
the
whole
future
summer
to do
shot.
this better.
Right.
But composting
Thank
is the way to.
The other thing that we have to take into consideration with the different disposal options, which I can appreciate, Eric has gone through trying to navigate, is how do you dispose and how do you treat the things like eggs and like litter and blow down material, manure. A lot of that stuff is considered infected as well. There's not very many disposal options for that include all of those. Composting, we're able to include all of those materials. If you utilize incineration, eggs don't incinerate. Manure depends on, it doesn't really incinerate well. Blowdown can be a little goofy, it depends on what it is. You've got chicken feathers and certain things in there. So some of those things don't. Egg wash water, liquid, doesn't really incinerate well. And there's a lot of disposal concerns of where do you go with that then. As Barrett can talk to, some landfills, they're a facility as well. They're private and they get to decide what kind of materials they accept at their landfill. And many of them have said, we will not take your birds. You can't take that many birds. Some of the smaller infected sites, they may be able to take a dumpster, a truckload, or some smaller, but at this amount, they couldn't accept that many birds. They also, many of them can't accept eggs. It's a liquid waste. It creates for the landfills an operational issue where you have a gap in your landfill that settles differently. It's not even related to the infection. It's their stability in their landfill and them working on it. So if you think about that, it does break down. You've got those carcasses, and now you've got a big hole in your landfill. And it's actually a huge safety stability issue for many landfills to
try to handle. So I don't know if you have anything to add about this disposal, when you try to navigate or working through on other items.
We try navigating every other option from incineration, disposal. At the end of the day, what Natasha's saying is anything that's porous on the facility needs to be sanitized and then disposed of. So there's a lot of different material that goes into that, and a lot of citizens, I hear you guys saying, we'd rather have you guys incinerate. Once you start incinerating manure, probably would not be as happy with that either. So there needs to be a longer, more collective solution to prevent this from happening, as well as different options for this disposal.
Yes, Dave Halser, W514 Hooper Road. So it's no secret that I've lived next to this shit my whole life, right? You guys, I've been this tall growing up on that property. I border right up to that farm, right? And
Which farm?
right next to where the compost site is. I bought that 142 acres right next to it, okay? So, first time around, you killed a bunch of my big oak trees, not your fault, you didn't own it, not on you, right? Quality of life was shit, killed 10 acres of my crops because of all the runoff, you didn't fix it. This time, you guys did pretty good, you fixed it. But the quality of life is absolute shit. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to, it's the golden room, right? It's elephant in the room, it sucks. Right? There's nothing you guys can say to change it behind those seats sitting in them. You can't do it. You can't do it, and it sucks. I get it. It's the best spot to do it in your eyes because it is, and I understand that. But at what point in time do you invest in a different site to do it, and not just pick our single site to keep bringing them to? Right? This is 3 times in less than 6 years.
We're already invested.
No, you're not. Well, then why don't you tell us that? Where is it? Where's the transparency here? Now it's 1 million, now it's 4 million. Where is it? When does it stop?
You know, we could use your help.
When does it stop?
Here's
No, you.
Here's what we can
Come on, you guys. Let's be real here. It's a joke at this point.
Here's where we can use your help. All of you, including you, sir.
Oh, you're destroying our neighborhood, buddy.
Can I finish?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
I would like to have another conversation in a better spot, but yes.
Where we need your help, call your congressman, call your.
No, that doesn't fit
Just
shit.
let me
That's the
finish.
most political thing you've ever said. That's the most political corrupt shit ever. Give us a real answer.
The real answer is we need political pressure to get to the point where we need to be, where we can eliminate that waterfowl property next door.
So your farm's in a bad spot, buddy. That's it. Your farm is in a bad spot.
Who
It's
was
in a
there
marsh.
first? Who was there
It's
first?
not gonna stop.
Who was there first?
You guys were, but that sucks that the DNR came there second. That's
Okay,
your, it
that's what I'm
sucks.
saying.
It's in a
We
bad spot.
can team up together and put pressure on the governor
It's
to
in a
do
bad
something
spot.
about it.
It's in a bad spot. It's gonna happen again.
Back over here. I apologize. Did you have another question?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, what is everyone to do to compensate for our quality of lives? Like, when people start becoming depressed, the mental health aspect, when people start, sort of taking their lives because they can't enjoy being outside, we're cooped up. You have seasonal depression, you can't even get out of seasonal depression because now you're stuck suffocating on the air outside.
Even in the house.
Yeah, it's in the house.
It's terrible.
Walls smell like it, your truck smells like it. Yep, back over here.
Todd St. Martin, in 2487 Swag Road.
Come on.
Todd St. Martin.
Excuse me 1 second. We're down to about 25 minutes, so let's try to get as many people in as we can.
First off, I'd like to thank you guys for coming, because I think most of you, other than Elizabeth, who, I love you, Elizabeth, and Barrett, love you, Barrett, haven't talked to me or called me back. Natasha took 3 months to get a hold of you last time. Thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate you actually showing up this time. That is pathetic on the state level. I've also tried to get a hold of Susie, that's online. She has still not yet called me back. I don't know why this is so hard for you to do. I really don't. You work for all people in the state of Wisconsin. It's not hard. Pick up the phone, talk to us. Thank you for coming. Now, about what you said, Barrett, about having only being able to compost, let's have a point of clarification there, because that's not actually 100% true. USDA website, right here, I pulled it up. Here are the lists that they recommend for bird flu, avian flu, composting, burial, incineration, rendering, and landfill. Natasha, last time when I called you, you and I had a nice long, about an hour and some minute conversation and said, I could go call the landfills myself. Have you this time called the landfills?
Well, let's just back up, St. Martin. I apologize that it was 3 months. I don't recollect that it took 3 months to respond. So if it took that long for me to get the message, I apologize.
I couldn't find your name. I couldn't find any resource other than finally finding the state directory for employees and going through it to try to find somebody that would be in charge of this.
Yeah, so I'm sorry that, if that phone call wasn't sitting with me for 3 months, I just wanted to clear that record. I did try to respond as soon as I could. And we did have a nice phone call. So, Dan can maybe talk about the landfills a little bit, but I personally have not called the landfills this time. Dan might have called some of the landfills. Barrett may have called some of the landfills. I'll let them
But
respond.
why is it his job? This is
Because-
hold on a minute. USDA is the jurisdiction that's overseeing this operation, correct?
Yeah, with disease control, animal disease control.
Yep.
In conjunction with USDA on the plan that you
Correct.
pulled up.
Yep. Then it boils down to you guys allowing the permit for what Barrett can do, correct?
We issue the composting permit. for
Yep,
that site.
you issued a composting permit. That's the only thing you issued, correct?
No, for DNR. That's
What
it.
other permits did you issue for disposal?
Oh, for disposal, that is well, we have land spreading permits that we issue for our CAFO, so those are permits that they ask for, and sometimes they have some movement permits. We have stormwater permits that we issue, for the site.
For disposal.
As far as disposal, this is the only permit we've been issued.
Yes.
Yeah.
Land, like, go through your list, landfills are not accepting it.
But did we verify that?
I can speak to that a little bit. Prior to the outbreak in 2022, I personally and a USDA representative met with local landfills down here to see if they would be willing to accept it, because we seen it coming in 2015. There was other states that throughout the country that were getting infected in 2021, early 2022, prior to the infection here. We met with the landfills. Originally, one landfill, and it used to be ADS, now it's a GFL landfill, did say, yes, we will take material. When the 2022 outbreak took place, they were one of the first calls that we made, and they told us, no, we won't take any material that's infected. We did reach out to other landfills, and we did work with Outagamie County, because they were the only landfill in the state that was willing to accept any of the material other than like PPE or garbage type material that would accept it. As a DNR, we issued them exemptions because they were not allowed to accept liquid waste. And I believe, if I'm correct, there was like 18 million eggs that were shipped to Outagamie County. So yes.
Not from these last two outbreaks.
No, from the 2022 outbreak. In other outbreaks throughout the state, we have worked with, again, Outagamie County to take small numbers of birds. They took like 3 dumpsters worth of birds from a small outbreak in Sheboygan County in 2025. So yes, we are talking to the landfills. It's just, we can't require a landfill to accept something. They're private businesses or government entities. We just regulate it.
On your other options, we can't have, we've been unable to get incineration approved as a method through state DNR. And like we all know, the water table, you dig a foot, 2 foot down, you're hitting water, so